Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we are here with a Gargoyles guide for old school RuneScape in my endless adventure to just make as many Slayer quest guides as possible. It seems like by the way that's looking, you know, eventually even when I complete them all, I'm just going to have to keep making them because there'll be combat changes along the way, and so we just keep on rolling. So if there's any videos you'd like to see, let me know in a comment down below. And if you enjoy it, make sure to leave a like. Also, other links of mine are down below in the description if you like, check them out. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into the guide. So starting with the most fundamental question, in my opinion, should you kill gargoyles just as a baseline? Yes, I believe so. They are good combat XP, good Slayer XP. I mean, not great, but, you know, manageable. And then, I mean, as far as GP goes, they're amazing. So, at least for med-level Slayers, like people that are just unlocking Gargoyles, they are really good at that point. Once you're kind of used to, like, you know, endgame bossing, they're not great at that point. But no matter when, I think they're worth doing, so I would do them personally. But Slayer's all about what you like, so, you know, do you. The only requirement is 75. Slayer, I would also say, you know, have decent combat stats, but honestly, by the time you have 75 Slayer, you probably have high enough combat stats to be able to come here. There's no real requirements. Sometimes, you know, if you have low defense, you might just have to eat a lot, or you can just, you know, decide to pray melee instead and have a little extra cost added to your trips, but that's up to you. In regard to what gargoyles are weak to, crush is going to be ideal. You can use slash and stab and other types of attack styles, but it's just not as ideal. They're still viable, so if you want to do that, feel free. And the gargoyle attack style is going to be melee, so we're going to need melee defense. Now, the max hit for gargoyles is an 11. However, the marbled gargoyle, which is the superior of the gargoyle, can hit a 38. I'll talk more about how to kill it eventually, but essentially it attacks with range and melee and has a mage-based special attack, so you can't really just pray and be safe. There's a little intricacies to the fight here and there. In terms of what to expect as far as loot, the Granite Maul is kind of the staple, or I mean used to be. Now, Granite Mauls are a little over 100k, I do believe. They used to be out price, so they're up from there. The Marbled Gargoyle has a 1 in 200 chance of spawning on task. A hard clue scroll is 1 in 128, which is a pretty decent rate. And then finally, there's just a ton of alchables on the Gargoyle table. That's where most of the GP will come from. Overall, 600k to 1.2 mil per hour should be what you can expect drop-wise. Now, that's not going to be pure profit. You are going to have to eat some, maybe pray some, use some super combat, stuff like that, and maybe you're not picking up everything, but it still should be 500k to a mil per hour profit for most people. Then in terms of melee gear, I really only recommend melee here at Gargoyles. A lot of other guides, you know, I'll throw in a range, mage setup, but here, I think melee is just the way to go. So in terms of like a low-level player that might not be able to really make it here yet, I have an example of that. The Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe is just a good, nice crush weapon. You can switch it out for other weapons if you'd like. Like I said, stab and slash weapons really aren't that bad here, but I'm just throwing out examples for crush weapons. And then in terms of the gear for the low-level setup, I have Initiate or Proselyte armor, just your best prayer boosting armor, because, I mean, honestly, at a low level, you're probably going to want to pray. It's just going to be a lot of trips to the bank if you end up just eating food and tanking. And then the med-level setup, got the Cudgel, and the rest of the gear is marked there. That one's a more defensive setup, and, you know, again, you're still going to have to probably bank, you know, maybe once, twice, depending on how many you have to kill. And then finally, the final setup has the Bludgeon and just kind of your maxed melee setup. There are some improvements you can make. The Infernal Cape is an unlock that would make that better, along with the Karen's Blessing. So those are some potential upgrades for you. Like I said before, DSIM, Whip, still viable if you don't want to sell stuff in your bank to buy another weapon just for Gargoyle's task. I understand you don't need to. And then as far as if you're going to stay here long term, maybe more than a Slayer task, Justice Sharp, I mean, it's really good. It's expensive, so most people probably not. But for people that are going to be here for a while, might be worth looking into. And then finally, the rates that you can expect. If you have 70 attack strength, you can expect 60k Slayer XP per hour. If you're at 85s of both, you can expect 20k XP per hour in Slayer. Max melee is about 26k Slayer XP per hour, and max melee plus piety is 32k Slayer XP per hour. If you need the combat XP of any of those, just multiply that times 4 and you'll get the combat XP per hour in whatever you're training. And if you want the GP per hour, multiply those numbers by 42 and you'll get the GP per hour that you can expect. Had a nice conversation with that man behind me. Always love seeing people that enjoy the videos. I mean, I'm always down to talk, so if you see me in game, don't be scared. But in terms of the inventory and how to get there, as far as how to get there, I'll be bringing a Slayer ring, but there are various ways to get to the Slayer Tower. So this one's just going to be the closest. The alternatives, there's a Salve Graveyard Telly that you can use right here. That's on the Arceus spellbook, and you can also get a tablet from the Grand Exchange. You can also use a Fairy Ring to get right there, and there's another Ancient Teleport tab that you can buy from the GE or CAS to get over here. It's also a house thing. You can go to other people's houses. There are various ways to get to these three, and if worse comes to worse, maybe you just ectofile over there. It's up to you how you want to get there in terms of the inventory. Also have some house tabs and some super combats as well, and then I have prayer potions because I like just praying melee and piety and just getting the task done a little quicker. If you don't like that, just switch out the prayer potions with more food. I'm bringing Karam wines. You can bring, probably pineapple pizzas would be the most efficient, GP per heal ratio, but it's up to you what you want to bring. And then beyond that, a rock hammer is going to be needed. And then alkarunes are going to be very nice to have as well. Just kind of a convenience thing. You probably don't need them, but I like to have them here because my inventory is usually pretty full. So, and one added thing, if you're thinking about bringing Guthans here, I wouldn't. I really don't think that Guthans is very useful in old school RuneScape at this point. You can kind of access a lot of places pretty easily, so it's always just better to go back to a bank and get your food, because really you're not going to save yourself or cost yourself any more money because you have to pay to use barrows for the upkeep of the gear, and beyond that it's just not that worth it because the DPS is so low compared to what you'd be getting normally. It's just better off to go back to a bank. Find your way on over to the Slayer Tower, however you may be doing it. I just teleported to the wrong spot, so I'll try again. So once you've made your way to the Slayer Tower, there's a couple places you can kill them at. The one place where they originally only were at was up here. If you go up this second floor staircase, then there's some gargoyles up there that a lot of people like to kill. However, like I said, a lot of people like to kill them there because they're good money. So if you are on a Slayer task, I would recommend going to a Slayer task only area, like below the Slayer Tower. Also, I forgot to mention earlier in the XP rates, if you have the Moritania diaries done, you can get anywhere from a 2.5% bonus in Slayer XP in the Slayer Tower, all the way up to a 10% bonus. So, utilize that if you can. And then, like I said, there's some gargoyles down here, so definitely want to, use this spot rather than the spot that everyone has access to. And then once you get here, just super combat up, use your potions, and if you're praying, go ahead and throw that on. You can hang out here. One thing that I would recommend is if you're going to do this task, honestly at all, I always unlock it before my first task. There's an ability to automatically have the rock hammer used on a gargoyle whenever it's low HP. See, my character just did it right there. If I didn't have that ability unlocked through a Slayer Master, I would have to manually do it like you would have to for kind of those other things where you have ice coolers and salt bags and whatever. Those things are awful. It's absolutely a terrible time. So by all means, unlock that if you plan on doing this for any amount of time. Would highly recommend that. And then, really it is just easy money. You get tons of raw value in game, so, these will always be good money. And then the only thing of note that could actually kill you here is the Superior. So I can't make one spawn to show you how it works, but it is pretty simple. All you have to do is pray melee and tank the range hits. That's why I bring food, even though I'm praying, because I want to be prepared for that. And you should be fine. Just don't panic, tank the range hits, and there is a special attack that the gargoyle has that can mess you up if you're not prepared for it. It essentially shoots out a dark ball at you, and you have to run away as soon as you see it. It'll just go to the spot that you were at, and as long as you've moved, you're fine. If you don't move, you can get dealt pretty high damage, and you'll also be frozen, and from there, a lot of people start to panic. But ultimately, if you're praying melee, if you're just staying calm, and you make sure to move whenever there's a ball thrown at you, you're fine. It's really all you have to look out for here. And I guess the only other thing is, if you're someone that likes AFK like I am personally, this is going to be a really slow task because the gargoyles are just big creatures. So the way that they work, their auto aggression's very tricky, because while they're a big creature, they technically only inhabit like a one tile area, so they don't all the time actually get close to you. They can oftentimes get stuck or just not even see you when it seems like they should. So that's kind of one of the downsides, I guess, to it. But other than that, it's a really great task, and honestly, one of my favorite. So yeah, that is going to be it for the Gargoyles guide today. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like. If there's anything you want to tell me, anything you want to see from me in the future, let me know in a comment down below. And on top of that, if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.